Welcome everyone to the first ever Planting Joy Garden podcast. Now, some of you may know me from YouTube, Planting Joy Gardens, but I wanted to kind of share some midweek information. So I'll be bringing you a podcast on Wednesdays. My normal videos on YouTube drop on Saturdays. But I want to start today's conversation with a great big thank you for taking the time to listen in today and also for watching my YouTube channel. I really appreciate the feedback that I've been getting from the viewers and from my listeners. Now, today I kind of want to talk about 5 reasons why we should not clean up our gardens so soon. Now is not the time to put your garden to bed because there's still so much more that we can grow. In my situation, I'm in a Zone 5B garden. I'm in Northern Illinois, and our first frost is typically October 15th. And it doesn't matter where you live, just know that there are some plants that can actually germinate and produce a harvest in as little as 30 days, and I'm speaking about radishes. But there are so many other plants that if you're in your last 60 days, you can still get a harvest. So the whole point of keeping those gardens going is, first of all, number one, to extend the harvest. As I mentioned, radishes, of course, our leafy green vegetables, turnips, these are all high density, highly nutritious foods that we can plant a seed and allow it to grow now, August, going into September, and clear through our frost. See, these are really frost tolerant plants. Things like turnips, radish, mustards, kale, spinach, arugula, and so many more. Also, if you have your squash, those winter squash, you want to kind of finish those out. You have been growing them probably for the last 80 days. Why would you rip out the plants now? Let them produce fruit for you and let those fruit cure on the vine. So the first reason why we should not be putting our gardens to bed is we want to extend the harvest. We want to make sure that there's something that we can enjoy during the winter months. Now, the second thing, and it's also related to extended harvest, is just finishing off those crops, ripening up those things that are sitting out there. We're talking about those tomatoes that may still be a little green. Sometimes they don't change color because it's been so hot. Generally, when it's above 90 degrees, your tomatoes and your peppers will go into sort of a suspended animation. So they're growing, but they're not ripening. They need cooler temperatures to produce that ethylene gas. And so as the temperatures cool, September, some places October, and for some of you even November, you'll start to notice that your fruit will ripen. And just giving yourself a little time, allowing the plants just to kind of sit and ripen, will increase your yields. The other thing is you've put so much effort. So this is point number 2. You've put so much effort into growing your garden, so much energy, so much time, and when you do the work of pulling, you're doing the work of pulling. But if you allow the frost to take your garden, which means you let the frost allow those vines to drop back, allow the frost to kind of break down some of that root matter, you'll notice that it's 100 times easier. Can you imagine trying to rip out a tomato right now with that long taproot? It's hard work. And then cutting those green vines where the stems may be as much as an inch thick, that's hard work on your hands. But if you just let the frost hit them, it will shrivel them down, break them away from the roots, and it's an easy cleanup process. Also, when you leave that green matter there for a little bit, it's a hiding place for those insects. It helps them to know, okay, there's a safe place in this garden for me to overwinter, especially your bumblebees. Now, I love hydrangeas, and I grow those Annabelle hydrangeas. Typically, you would cut those flush to the ground so you have a beautiful flat area in front of you. But I challenge you, If you leave maybe 2 or 3 inches of cane above the ground, when you come back in the spring, you touch those canes and you find that there's bees coming from everywhere. And you're like, well, where did they come from? They're actually in the canes of those hydrangeas. So resist the temptation to flush cut all of your plant material to the ground. Consider leaving maybe 2 or 3 inches as hiding places for bees and native insects. Also, another thing you want to leave is perhaps your flower heads. Your flower heads are hiding places for things like ladybugs and their larvae. So it's a good idea to leave some plant matter around your garden. So just don't clean your garden just yet. A third point, and this has to do with our beautiful butterflies. Now, there are many butterflies like your monarchs. They fly south for the winter, and we wish we could too. However, those solitary bumblebees and the swallowtail butterflies, they do not fly south. They overwinter in your garden. The same thing with ladybugs and praying mantis and many of our predatory bugs. They will overwinter in your garden, but they have to have a place to do that. There's also many birds that don't fly south. Things like the swallows, some of the doves. Many birds will overwinter in their locations, and so they need a reliable food source. Here in Illinois, cardinals don't fly south, they stay. Swallows don't fly south, they stay. Pigeons don't fly south, they stay. And woodpeckers don't fly south, they will often stay in the forested areas. So you need a reliable food source, and that's when those native flowers, your cone flowers, also known as echinacea, and your things such as your black-eyed Susans, these are reliable food sources for our birds. And when left in the garden, they provide a little structure and something to look at in the garden, but it's also a source of plant food. Now, the other thing, and probably the most important thing, and what we spend money on in terms of mulch and leaf mold, is by allowing your garden to stand and not putting it to bed, you're actually protecting the soil. You're leaving plant matter, leaf debris, things on your soil surface. By leaving plants in the ground, it keeps air and allows the soil to remain aerated. Now, when we allow some of the brush from our gardens to fall over our beds, we're creating highly nutrient mulch for our beds. We're protecting it from the intense sun and high winds of the winter. We're also protecting it from erosion that can come around with winter rains, winter winds. We're just keeping that soil from just being washed away by leaving plant debris there. So I challenge you as we enter into September to just kind of hold off before you put your plants to bed. Try to bring everything to a ripened state if possible. Leave some roots in the ground. Allow the leaves from your vines and plant material to just kind of cover and coat your beds. So these have just been 4 great reasons why we should not quite put our beds to bed. We want to keep going through the season. If you're able to plant some cold tolerant crops, I would encourage you. In fact, one of my favorite cold tolerant crops is spinach. And spinach is one of those things where it will suddenly germinate. Even in my Zone 5B garden, it'll be mid-December and all of a sudden you'll see spinach growing in the yard. So throw those seeds out for your spinach and allow them to be a living mulch on your garden beds. The other thing are the turnip greens. The turnip greens will have that little tap root, which will provide air into your soil. And turnip greens will actually live beyond your first frost and can tolerate temperatures as low as 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's just a few reasons why you should not put your garden to bed. And I'm curious to see how many of you will maintain a fall garden. How many of you will carry your gardens over into the winter, into December? Now, me in Zone 5, generally around January, I'll get into the double-digit negative temperatures and we'll get super low wind chills. And it's hard to, have actively growing plants, but the seeds are there. My garlic seeds are there. My spinach seeds are in place. My carrot seeds are in place. And these are all things that will just sit in the soil. And when the time is right, they will just suddenly germinate. And I'll find myself having spinach first thing in the spring. And I'll ask myself, well, who planted spinach? Realizing, hey, I cast those seeds late fall, expecting a harvest in spring. So again, go ahead and continue the garden process. Continue to enjoy all that you do in the garden. And, just keep those gardens going. Create a habitat that's not only joyful for you, but also for the bees, the butterfly, and the wildlife that we share our gardens with. And so this has been Kathy. I thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. Let me know if there's any specific topics you would like to cover. And also tune in to my YouTube channel, Planting Joy Gardens. And I typically will release new videos on Saturdays. And I plan to bring you a midweek podcast on Wednesdays. Now the podcast will be based on whatever you want to hear, any topics you want to cover. So at the podcast, just leave a comment or a like. If you want to hear more, leave a comment with anything you would like to discuss. So again, I thank you so much for joining me in the garden. Have an amazing day.